the little brown girls. In synth, in song, in soothe, she is the mellow between a hairline split. The soundtrack to the falling, the breathing, the cinematic, the minute brings harps of a minor chord before the day has had a chance to ruin itself. For all the little brown girls that dared love a little different, they are studying her meter and writing theses as they lie in the dark, weeping in blue-black odes. And she makes them feel held. In each hymn and harmony, she is all sins in gospel. Sonder in spoken form, she titles the prayers whispering onto our mother's walls for the lusterless coming of age. Forged into stained glass depositories, she is beyond language, all dissonance and other women's stories. She is commentary.
And political.
And justice.
And creed.
Warping words that force the pause of a nation.
Into silence.
Into themselves.
Into grief.
The innocent, the addled, the crowned. And with a ballad at their back, they protest and picket signs. Summer 2017 added years to their life. That kumbaya communion like. The wish we'd grown up on the same advice. For the unpoetic and overshadowed. When the idea of loving yourself is all you have left. When your sunsets and woes are out of reach, you are in need of black girl magic, artistry, wrapped in dopamine.
Neighborhoods. Whenever I get asked why I don't have a Brummie accent, I explain that my dad's a Southeast Londoner, and so the root cause of my tongue begins at SE 15. More specifically, that my tonsils found a home in Little Lagos, on Peckham's Lausanne Road, in my grandparents' living room, where I often return like a child landing softly into tall grass. Generations of my family have filed in against that raspberry velvet paisley wallpaper. They recited their pleasantries and glowing school reports against a backdrop of photos of elders' graduations and the tribes back home in fabrics which caress you through the frames at an intimate distance. Whiff of jollof lingered. It wasn't exactly a house of song, but I know that Grandma could recite the Psalms, and a queer grandchild in her Sunday best knew to leave her tongue at the door. The facets of her identity, like unruly curls, braided into compliance, binding together all those tangled roots.
The mother I never met. Grief is the taste of my tongue when Africa reaches her hand out to me and I have nothing to say to her. I do not speak the same language as my mother. She speaks and I cannot speak back. I did not inherit the silk, the gold, the fat of that continent. I never met one of my sisters or experienced the softness of their open hands. Under the gaze of Europe, I am a daughter with no motherland. For people who can't leave their skin or hair behind when asked about origins, we cry. I was persuaded out of my own skin, my own language, my own mind. Did anyone tell you how pain is a mouth, how it eats you? I am full on all things visceral. The safest place is my mother's house, except for her own people. Africa handed her guests petals, and yet she was greeted with pistols. And I have nothing to say to her, because I do not speak the same language as my mother. She speaks, and I cannot speak back. I did not inherit the silk, the gold, the fat of that continent.
Russian doll. Maybe it is not my mother, but a stacking doll within her of some great, great, great grandmother that makes her act the way she does. And within each doll, another and another, smaller still. Long before I was even a tiny swaddled thing carved out of a single piece of wood, she held all those layers within her. Is it possible that my great-great-great-grandmother left it to me on purpose? Those cracked edges, that curved smirk, the faded paint now smooth from touch. The kick inside is a wound left unattended from one of the many women who has come before me, only to be revealed if I were to unstack all the dolls, run my finger along the carefully carved bodies, growing up and breaking down the matrilineal line, each of them decreasing in size, fading back into ancestral history, but no less within me. I'm sure my daughter's daughters will laugh to think of me so proud and knowing, whilst they finish the task of plucking out all the dents and splinters that I will have left behind. And who will be revealed when I am split open at the middle? Will birth be an encounter of the ancient and the unknown, spilling out of me all at once?
Thunder music. God carves the cosmos, eons bound into an animate manuscript. The beginning and its conclusion jolt the same, like Luna pregnant and bleeding the black, clotted sky. At the window of my mother's car, moon stalks the darkness I can't name. Evening longing maims my heart. The same dream where I am running towards my father only to end up snubbing his arms for disco lights and open curtains, a clapping audience. We're all fountains of emotions, wanting someone to drink us so we can be quenched. I ran into you like a drunk driver to a pram or a plump baby eaten by a bomb, a circus in flames. Charm is often narcissism. I watched you asking the world for a buzz while inhaling a puff of crack. Memory is having a post-mortem for love. Ours lasted for months on life support. Both of us on autopilot, like the city busker strumming Bjork's quiet with no pennies in his cup. Only happy when dream paused in clandestine dawn. You etched my initials into your left arm after our first wildfire. Used my tears to wash the wounds, your pen tattoo. Every time you dismembered me, you called my entrails beautiful, like a painting of a nude angel. The sunset playing Comptine dot Audre et, as heart-bent swans circle the deep navel of the earth's core. We were born into brilliant noise. Sometimes thunder is music. Often disasters shake us alive, like the tornado kiss that leaves a whole district destroyed. We clutch our kids, start from soil to cultivate a new life. Hold on to the small but significant moments of choice. Dance in the thunder. Make bliss in bass music.
I will not kneel down. This poem is dedicated to Zainab Al-Windawi, my friend, my sister, and for every single person trapped in the biggest open-air prison in the world, forced to get out, unable to leave, with nowhere to escape or return to if this ends. Sometimes it seems you speak your words into your throat. In silence, there is no morality. tongues heavy with the weight of what is left unsaid. You close your hand and your fist has nowhere to go. Genocide, a trivial matter. Are you seeing with your eyes wide shut? Are you listening? Is your soul open for the reality of truth? The severity of apartheid, the sanctity of land and life and love executed. There is noise surrounding a massacre. This massacre, a war, a resistance, a defense, an illegal occupation dispossessing homes and displacing 2.3 million indigenous families for settler colonialism in 2023. Can you find rationale in hysteria? Cognitive dissonance sitting in ambivalence, a controversy, a contention, and there is no conclusion in sight. Hearts remain a beating, broken clench. Humanity is spilling into numbers, not names, not love, not life, not people, not a person, no longer powerful, only propaganda to fuel fear into falling gaps. The core of your frontal lobe unable to process 6,000 bombs in 6 days. But there is no time left to think. Children are writing names on their palms to identify their little bodies in the likely possibility of being murdered in airstrikes. What of the babies being dismembered by bombs? Limbs torn off, flesh in handfuls, gathered for body bags, ready for burials in mass graves, white phosphorus disintegrating tiny lungs, melting the soft of skin, no breath within, left with no next of kin.
James Baldwin told us, the children are always ours, every single one of them, all over the globe.
And we have watched in slight discomfort at the inconvenience of over 1,000 children being slaughtered, stored in ice cream trucks to be reunited with missing parents, waiting in death to be collected, claimed by somebody, anybody with responsibility. Their lifeless, martyred bodies sleeping, hoping, and dreaming for accountability. Did they know any better? In life, is relief a feeling they've ever felt? Raised in an open-air prison, conditional water, controlled food, checkpoints at every turn they take, and being frightened of death hanging over them like a sentencing to no trial. Collective punishment for the sin of existing. Innocence, a spoiled afterthought when brutality becomes an everyday agenda. There is no safety in the churches, or mosques, or hospitals. For these sanctuaries are targets too. I am horrified by the screaming on my screens, censorship limiting conversations, shadow banning on social media. Free speech is determined only by pigmentation. Disinformation reverberating as entire villages are blasted. Propaganda in the filthiest form when flag waving is law breaking. Western imperialism is the ugliest thing. And I will not kneel down to it. As the loss of life is dehumanized, PTSD palpable in photographs, grief immeasurable and immortalized.
Audre Lorde told us long ago that the master's tools will not dismantle the master's house.
And I have watched us in a Stockholm syndrome since. This is a disproportionate destruction with a one-sided narrative, so I will refuse to condemn, but I will not stay quiet. I will not be complicit, for these images of carnage are carried by my ancestors too.
Wow, okay.